1970 was a watershed year for hard rock in the United Kingdom. I'm thinking of bands like T2, Aardvark, Free, Love Sculpture, Paddo, Warhorse, Deep Purple, and this band, Trapeze, from their second album, Medusa, the track Black Cloud. The cadence is very similar to All Right Now by Free. Not the actual chords, it's just it's got like the same tempo, the same timing, the same pacing, and a very similar like sizzling, restrained bar chord riffage. But I don't know if I don't know if they heard of each other before they got these out, because both came out in 1970. Great. We had that like closed cadence, like hard rock electrified riffing for like the first, you know, few bars of 8, and then we've got this open cadence, kind of strumming, slightly rustic acoustic section, very much setting a template for the electric acoustic contrasts of 70s hard rock. And the slight rustic aura that oftentimes pervaded a lot of 70s hard rock. And once again, very evocative of what Free were doing at the same time. Both bands, Trapeze and Free, released 2 albums in 1970. Right here, I'm thinking of some of the this acoustic section has me thinking of material off of the Highway album, particularly the track Bodie, like with that acoustic, you know.
No time to stop, keep on moving. All the world is to see. No time to think, a thing that I am missing. Wherever I
The moment where Glenn Hughes became Glenn Hughes, you know, just the fiery, raspy belter that we all know and love from many different projects. I should add that Trapeze at this point are a trio. Yeah, just 3 guys producing the sound. Dave Holland, Glenn Hughes, and Mel Galley. Galley being a co-writer of the track with his brother, Tom Galley, who is a producer.
From a citizen of nowhere, the sky above my head. I wonder where the grass grows. Looking through the sunshine till my judgment day, my judgment day. Wherever I go, red cloud following me. No, it's following me around.
I think AC/DC may have ripped off that riff for something from their 1980 album.
Don't leave me be.
That's the fuzzy, restrained, sensitive guitar licks of Mel Galley there, the co-writer with his brother Tom Galley. I should add that this album was produced by John Lodge of the Moody Blues. You could take that as a surprise, or you could just say that he had quite a handle on several different areas at the time, musically. Really ahead of its time for 1970. Just the tonal separation, the really the refined characteristics and just measured contrast between hard rock and acoustic rustic. And even the for in terms of like hard rock, the arrangements, like the vocals, are several years ahead of their time. I'm thinking like I'm hearing elements of what Judas Priest would be doing later in the decade. In 1970, a lot of hard rock bands were still just kind of the style wasn't quite cohesive yet. It was still kind of messy. You would have a lot of meandering passages, loose, unstructured, messy guitar work, oftentimes drenched in Leslied effects, with kind of unrestrained drumming and gurgling organ. And while it's not to slight that can be good at times, but not many hard rock acts were this refined, this measured, and also there's, I mean, not even Deep Purple at this point. Also, there's an element of funk going on, particularly in the bass work of Glenn Hughes, that I really don't hear in any of the UK hard rock. This band has got to be the first band with a funk element to them from the UK, preceding acts like Ross and the Average White Band and the Olympic Runners by several years. Let's catch up on the lyrics here. No time to stop, keep on moving, the whole world is to see, no time to think of things that I am missing, wherever I go, black clouds following me. So this guy just has to keep on moving. His own, I don't know, maybe his own poor decisions are running after him. Let's see, each and every town, I'm father's last relation, doing what I can just to eat, never want to settle down, I ain't got the patience, wherever I go, black clouds following me. A lot of songs from around this time dealt with drifterism, just roaming and living kind of the hang loose, sort of roughing it, wing on a prayer type nomadic way of life. I'm a citizen of nowhere, the sky's above my head, I wonder where the grass grows, looking through the sunshine till my judgment day, my judgment day. So he knows that he hasn't necessarily walked the straight and narrow, but he'll let the maker, if there is one, be his judge in the end, not society. Wherever I go, black clouds following me. Oh, it's following me around. Don't leave me be. No time to think of the things that I am missing. I've got to keep on moving along, baby. So he can't, like, if he had walked the straight and narrow, and what kind of life he might, what kind of parallel life, what say like a parallel version of him who would walk the straight and narrow, where that man would be at this point. He has no time to contemplate, oh, if only I'd done this or done that, or should I have. Fact is, I didn't, so it's just neither here nor there. I can't settle down, or I'd be dead. Come here. No time to stop. Keep on moving, 'cause all the world is to see. No time to think. The thing that I am missing, wherever I go, the black clouds following me. And goes on, repeats kind of some of the things that have already been said.
I'm a citizen of nowhere. The sky above my head. I wonder where the grass grows. Looking through the sunshine till my judgment day.
I just love those high growls that he does. Like he's one of the most advanced belters of this period, and he was new on the scene. This was Trapeze's second album. The earlier, slightly more kind of 60s pop sounding first album came out in like the start of 1970, and then this one came out a bit later in the year. And he's just him and Paul Rogers and Mike Paddo, you could say, were in a distinct class of hard rock belters who were like a step ahead, you could say, of a lot of the vocalists who were still just getting. The thing is, a lot of 1970 releases, what I hear is beat era, kind of like freak beat era male vocalists, who had been singing in that more nasally tone, that mid-range, struggling to cope with the new demands that were placed on male vocalists in the wake of Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin. Learning to master that operatic tenor wailing and going up, like a lot of vocalists in 1970 were trying. And not to slight the music in any way, but like, I don't know, the vocals like on the first Beggar's Opera album, or like on the Aardvark album, or there's a lot of them where they're really kind of out of their element, the singer anyway. And then you had people, of course, like Ian Gillan, who was definitely good for the demands that Ritchie Blackmore was placing on him in Deep Purple. But at times he would just be almost kind of like overdoing it in a way, like just like mauling the lyrics, mauling the lines. And of course, I'm pretty sure that Ian Gillan was probably just trying to move heaven and earth to make, hoping that no one would remember that he had been the vocalist in episode 6, which were kind of like a UK equivalent to the Association. Very, very, very light, airy-fairy pop. But like Glenn Hughes, Paul Rogers, they didn't quite have as much to prove. They just kind of led by example rather than force. And you could say the most masculine way to present yourself before the mic.
Judgment Day. Wherever I go, hey, clouds following me. It's following me. Never let me go. Keep on moving.
that riff, that electric riff that frames the song is great, but these oozing lead lines that he squeezes out, that Mel, are just something else.
We have got to make it. We are going to take it. Yeah.
Not many guitarists of this period quite had that refined control of their like tone and just the way that the notes are so measured.
We're going to take it. But you're not gonna make it.
There you have it, Black Cloud, the opening track on the album Medusa, the sophomoric effort from Trapeze, one of many explosive bands that came out of the UK in 1970. A trio at that point of Glenn Hughes, Dave Holland on drums, and Mel Galley, the co-writer of this track, on guitar and vocals. Glenn Hughes played bass, piano, and lead vocals in the band. He would leave the band after their third album, You Are the Music, We're Just the Band, and would replace he would go into Deep Purple, and where he would replace Roger Glover, and lead the band into the he would be on Burn and Stormbringer, yeah, and then Come Taste the Band, where the whole frontal lineup of Deep Purple changed, brought more of a funky hard rock element in around the time that hard rock and funk were starting to coalesce. And you could say it was a natural progression by the mid-70s, except Trapeze were like the only band, the only like founding hard rock band to have anticipated that right from the beginning. You could say that like American funk originated from the instrumental side of Stax and Vault, like bands like Booker T and the MGs, or like the Marqués. That's kind of the vein of music where like bands like Funkadelic emerged from, like jazz funk being more of a progression from soul jazz and electrified post-bop. Whereas like hard rock was, in the UK, was emerging from the likes of Cream and Hendrix. But just as it had been natural for mid-60s English bands like the Stones and the Pretty Things to draw from American blues and Stax and Motown, it was just as natural for the incoming hard rock bands 5 years later to draw from the more contemporary strains of African American, of like the heavier side of African American music, like particularly funk, like Funkadelic, Kool and the Gang, the Ohio Players, and such. And by the mid-70s, of course, what Trapeze were prophesizing on this album would become more widespread, like in Deep Purple, the Ian Gillan Band, bands like Racing Cars, a whole host of them. Anyway, Trapeze, a great band that would go on to record like about 5 albums, from 6 albums, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, up through the later part of the decade, and Mel Galley would be with them until the end. For more Rubies and Sapphires by, from this and the other Trapeze albums, see the directory of albums by English tea artists in the links below, and like and subscribe to know when the next videos are coming out. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most air-traveled tri-maximalist, signing off.